We will start with the part 2 of the presentation, which will cover criteria 4 to 10 along with the accreditation decision on the basis of which the NBA takes the decision on accreditation. The criteria 4 talks about students' performance in tier 2 with a weightage of 150 marks. Wherever there will be a deviation in terms of tier 1 institutions, the same reference will be made in the subsequent slide. The first criteria is enrollment ratio. As I said, that student information in terms of numbers and as well as in terms of the quality of intake is sought in the new SAR. So this is in terms of numbers. Now this is the admissions at first year level. Again, I am making it clear, not at the including the lateral entry admissions, which typically is 20%. It is only at the first year level average of students admitted in last 3 years. And as we have seen that the qualifier talks about 50% in tier 2 and 60% in tier 1. So the marks here will be based on the admissions in a program on an average basis for the assessment tier from 60% to 90%. The weightages will be vary from 14 to 20 marks based on the number of admissions made in last 3 years. In case a program is not able to get 60% students, then the program will not get any marks on this criteria. Majority of the assessment point in the student category and in the faculty category are mathematical or formula driven points, but the data needs to be, we have said in the evaluation guideline that experts or program evaluator should verify complete data at least for one assessment year, with an assumption that if a program is able to demonstrate correct documentary evidence in terms of numbers available and the retrieval of those numbers, then they will be doing the same for the remaining 2 assessment years. Next criteria in the student category is the success rate. The success rate typically means number of students who are able to clear the degree requirement in the minimum time. Now we have bifurcated this in 2 categories. Is that success rate, number of students clearing degree requirement without having backlog in any semester of study, and the students having backlog but with the university rule or the institute rule they are able to clear the examination in requirement in the minimum duration. And the higher weightage is given when the success rate is counted without having backlog in any semester of study. That's why 25 marks on 40-point scale, and it says that number of students who have graduated from the program without backlog, how the denominator will come, number of students admitted in the first year of that batch and admitted in the second year via lateral entry, and AICTE recent past has started giving separate division, the separate division of 60 students which comes directly in the second year. So the first year admissions, lateral entry admissions, which are 20% of the first year admissions based on intake, plus the separate division if a program is having. So out of these many numbers, how many are able to clear or graduate without having backlog in any semester of study from first semester to 8th semester in case of engineering. And the 4.2.2 is although they had some backlogs, but then they were able to clear the course in the 4 years duration in case of engineering. So 15 marks weightage on there. Now there is a note written there. This is based on some of the discussions took place, that what happens if 100% of the students clear the graduation requirement in minimum time without backlog. So we have said that both will be operational simultaneously and the weightages will be 40. It's not that if 100% clears, so on 15 will not be considered. Both will be operational simultaneously and full 40 marks will be given in this criteria. Third is the academic performance. Now see, look at, if we want to differentiate programs across the country, then the students' performance in the which year to be looked into. If you look at the previous SAR, it was only the final year performance. Now in real sense, the program quality gets differentiated from the first year performance, second year performance and third year performance. We also did an analysis where we found that final year performance of the students across the country by and large falls in the same window. So it is really difficult to differentiate that how students are performing from program to program in final year. So final year assessment is not part of the assessment in the new SAR in any discipline. So academic performance in third year means successful students, those who are permitted to go to final year. What academic performance typically means, the students, those who are permitted to go to final year, how have they fared in the on 100-point scale individually. Mean of third year grade point average of all. For example, if a grade point average 10-point scale is followed in an institute or in a university, then what is the grade point of all the students, mean of all the students which have been permitted to move to the next year. If there is a absolute mark system on 100-point scale, then the average of percentage marks of all successful students in third year divided by 10. If you look at the marks, the multiplier is 1.5 to arrive at the maximum 15 marks. Now answer to this is, if 100% of the student scores 100% of the marks, then only program will get 100% marks. Because 1.5, if you look at mean of percentage of marks of all successful students, assume that each student got 100% in third year, then a mean will come 100%. 100 divided by 10 will become 10, and 1.5 into 10 will become 15. We have added another qualifier there, which is to avoid in terms of, which is to come to a reasonable and realistic number of successful students divided by number of students appeared in the examination. Because if we do not put this multiplier, then if only one student is successful and permitted to go to next year, then one student performance will talk about the academic performance of the whole class. So there is a multiplier of the successful students divided by number of students appeared in the examination. Similarly, the academic performance in second year. The second year academic performance means the students who are permitted to go to the third year. Now, the two performance, second year and third year, are at program level. First year performance will come in the criteria number 8 when the first year marks assessment will be made, and final year academic performance is not a part of self-assessment report, as it is very difficult to differentiate the programs based on final year performance. So, two academic performance assessment point at the second year of the program and third year of the program based on the how the students have fared in the total 100-point scale or 10-point scale in case of CGPA. Placement, higher studies and entrepreneurship, as I said that equal weightage has been given in the new SAR. So, if you see the placement index, it is x plus y plus z divided by the n is the total number of students in the final year of the batch. So, if you look at x is the number of students placed in companies or government sector, y there is a rider there, number of students admitted to higher education with valid qualifying score. So, any student who takes admission through GATE or equivalent state or national level test only will be counted when we look at the number of students opted for higher studies. So, somebody who has not taken admission through a recognized examination either at national level or at the state level may be doing a postgraduate program, but will not be counted under the postgraduate admission category. And Z is, there is again a rider. If somebody has been shown as an entrepreneur, then the entrepreneurship should reflect towards engineering and technology domain, not in any generic domain. So, number of students turned entrepreneur in engineering and technology, and P1, P2, P3 is for 3 assessment year, and the average of 3 talks about this is the highest weighted parameter when we look at student assessment point. These are the regular activities from the student perspective which a program is expected to have at its implementation site. Professional societies, chapters organizing engineering events. So, even those marks are bifurcated in terms of having those chapters at the program or department level, and the important thing is number and the quality of events organized by those chapters. Publication of technical magazine, newsletter. It is expected that a program department will have a technical magazine published for the benefit. So, quality and relevance of the contents, and the participation of students is also expected when in terms of articles, in terms of some concepts which as a part of these publications. Participation in inter-institute events by the students of program of study. It is expected that program will permit the students to participate in various competitions within state, outside the state. So, marks have been allocated accordingly within the state, some marks outside the state, some marks, and if they have participated and have won some prizes, a separate weightage has been given on that. Faculty criteria, highest weighted criteria. This table talks about the only information point in terms of faculty name, qualification, experience, various publication details, PhD guidance details. So, this typically is a cumulative information to be filled by the department, and in terms of their loads, and we will see those fraction load how this is to be done, and this has to be attached in the annexure not with any documentary evidence, but as a part of information item when the SAR is submitted. However, when the committee comes, they are expected to show the documentary evidence in terms of various things mentioned in the format. The first criteria in the faculty is the student-faculty ratio. Typically, it is very simple in terms of number of students and number of faculty members, but there is a methodology how we need to calculate these numbers. Since this is a program level faculty student ratio, so 3 years of study, so number of students typically will be 3 multiplied by the student. How this X will come? X is approved intake, it's not the admitted number. If a program has a 60 as an approved intake, then if they admit 40, however, the calculation will be based on 60. What we have eliminated here is, for example, if they are able to admit more students, then because this is a temporary phenomenon, many of the failures may join in the second year, so those will not be counted. Approved intake plus 20% of lateral entry intake, which typically diploma holders, and the separate division which AICT is permitting nowadays BSc students and other set of students to take admission directly in the second year. So because these are second year students, so whatever numbers we get based on the approved intake will come here, multiply by 3 will give the total number of students in that program. Now how to calculate the faculty? Faculty is A plus B plus C. Now A is what? Full-time regular faculty serving to the second year, third. We will come to the regular definition also. That full-time serving to second year, third year and final year of the program. This is the faculty members who are actually shown in the program. And they are serving to the department. They may serve fully, they may serve partially. B is the total number of faculty. There is a word written equivalent regular faculty, considering fraction load serving this program from other programs. Now, for example, if there is a say computer science department and assessment, they are filling this SAR, and they have got few faculty members from the electronics department. So electronics department faculty will come in the B category B here. Now how this equivalent fractional load will be calculated. Now assume that a electronics faculty member is taking a load, electronics faculty member who is at the designation of say professor, and professor as per AICT norm is expected to take a teaching load of 8 hours a week, and out of 8 hours he is devoting 4 hours to the computer science program. Then while calculating B here, I will write him as a 0.5. So the fractional will be proportion of the load which a cadre wise faculty is expected to take on 8, 12, 16 scale. How much of this 8, 12, 16 faculty is devoting to the program getting through accreditation or applying for accreditation, same percentages will be counted. For example, 4 faculty members, if they are giving 25% to a program, then all 4 put together will be 1 faculty added in the number of faculty members here. C is the number which is shown in the minus. How many faculty member from the program which is going for accreditation, they are actually teaching the other departments. So those fraction needs to be minus in the same manner in which B is added here. And it is expected that they will maintain a ratio of 1:15, and 1:15 to 1:20 marks will vary from 20 to 50% of the marks to 10. And any program which is in, because what has happened that our pre-visit qualifiers have come after the self-assessment report. That's why if you look at the last line, 0 for average SFR higher than 1:20. Now, if you look at the pre-visit qualifier, anybody having teacher-student ratio more than 1:20 is not allowed to move forward. So because our SAR came first and qualifiers came second, that's why in the SAR you find this line. But the permitted flexibility is 1:15 to 1:20. Regular faculty definition, here it is not mentioned. The definition of regular faculty is, it can be in 2 categories. The first category is somebody who is on board with prescribed pay scale is considered to be a regular faculty member. Other category of regular faculty member is program can appoint faculty member on contract basis also, but that contractual appointment should be for a period of 3 years. But the important thing there is that the consolidated salary to be given to this contractual faculty member should be at least equal to the applicable gross salary in that particular cadre. And it has been also defined that prescribed pay scale means what? Prescribed pay scales as prescribed by the AICT or the central government, and implementation as per the state government. It has been also made explicitly clear that if a state government prescribes lesser salary in a particular cadre, then the same will be counted as an applicable salary while counting the regular faculty members. This has been made explicitly very clear, and we are in a process of right now reviewing this clause. That's why I have not placed there, reviewing this clause of definition, because a lot of people are finding difficult to implement in terms of, and we have, AICT has been contacted to give direction in this. Faculty cadre proportion. The other thing I would like to make it very clear here is that here the 100% faculty members are expected to be on board, because AICT has changed the guideline right now that you can have 80% on board and 20% under the adjunct category. However, NBA is a quality assurance certification, so the current guidelines of AICT is not, it is the NBA guidelines which is applicable when they go for NBA assessment. The cadre ratio, as the AICT prescribes cadre ratio of 1 to 6, that 1 out of 9 should be professor, 2 out of 9 should be associate professor, and 6 out of 9 should be assistant professor. So somebody maintains this ratio, then that program will get full. So AF actually means available number of professor, R indicates required number of professors. So in 3 category, 100% weightage is given to professor. If you look at AF2 by RF2 is typically for associate professor, and F3 is the assistant professor. So 60% weightage to associate professor, 40% weightage to assistant professor. If a program is complying to the ratios as mentioned here, then you will see that program will get full 25 marks, because 1 plus 0.6 plus 0.4 will give 2, 2 into 12.5 will give the full marks. What has been mentioned here is that if AF1 and AF2 both are 0, that means available professor and associate professor, if it is 0, what it indicates, there is no cadre there. There is no cadre, only the assistant professors are there. So they will get 0 mark. As I said, this SAR came first, our pre-visit qualifiers came afterwards. So now if you integrate these two things, this condition will not come, because if they do not have one of these two, program will not be eligible for the visit. We have also taken enough precaution that if somebody shows higher number of assistant professor, they will not get full marks. That's why some of the cases have been highlighted here, in terms of if they are having higher number of professor and associate professor, then they get full marks. But if they have higher number of assistant professor than the required, not maintaining the ratio of professor and associate professor, then they will not be able to get full marks. That has been shown in cases 3. For example, if you say if AF1 by RF1 equal to 0, that means there is no professor available. In case of associate professor, they require 2, but they have 1. However, in case of assistant professor, they require 9 assistant professor, but they have 11 assistant professors. Still, if you see their marks, they only get 9 marks out of 25 marks. So we have built that mechanism where they cannot show more number of assistant professor overall out of the required numbers. Faculty qualification is, since AICT has made MTech as the minimum qualification to become a faculty member, there is no weightage for the undergraduate qualification. 100% weightage, that's why if you look at 10x plus 6y by F, F is the total number of faculty as calculated in 5.1 while calculating teacher-student ratio, and 100% weightage to PhD faculty member, 60% weightage to MTech faculty member. So what it makes clear is that if a program wants to get 100% marks in this, 100% faculty should be with doctorate qualification, because MTech is 60% weightage, PhD is 100% weightage, and if a program has mixture of these two, then marks will be from 60% of 25 to 100% of 25. Faculty retention, as I said, these are all information point. That's why the title of this criteria has been changed to not only faculty contribution, faculty information and contribution. So these are information points. Faculty retention, in the previous SAR, it was for 1 year of service 1 point, and a faculty can have 5 points. This has been changed in the new SAR. How the retention is calculated? NBA accreditation is done on the assessment of the data for 3 years. Out of 3 years, current year, CAYM2 stands for current assessment year minus 2, which is the base year. If a base year becomes the indicative number of faculty members which should be available in the program as per 1:15 teacher-student ratio. If a program is able to retain 90% of the faculty member during the period of assessment, then the program will get full marks. It is expected that minimum 50% faculty they should be able to retain. So based on the retention from 50% to 90%, program will get marks from 25, 20, 15, 10. And if they are not able to retain 50% of the faculty member, then the program will get 0 mark based on the 3-year assessment period and the current assessment year minus 2 as the base year. For example, if the program is going for accreditation in July this year, then 15, 16 will become first year, 14-15 will become second year, and the base year will become 13-14. So whatever numbers, assuming that intake remains same, if intake changes then the number of faculty will also change, that whatever number were supposed to be there as per 1:15 and 13-14, if they are able to retain from 50 to 90% of those numbers, then they will get some marks in the retention component. This, as I said, has been added by design, innovation by faculty in teaching learning, with full understanding that people will write lot of things with copy and paste, people will write something which will be their own imagination. Idea is that they should devote some thought process how to make their teaching learning more and more interactive on continuous basis. We have placed some rider here that what will be counted as a innovation by the attempt by the faculty in terms of innovation in teaching learning. Those three riders are here. Now, what will come in the in this innovation? These are some of the indicative areas which with a lot of flexibility that they can build on this. Use of ICT, instructional delivery, instruction methods, assessment, evaluation, and inclusive classroom that leads to effective, efficient, and engaging instruction. Now, what will be counted? Will be counted subject to this. The work must be made available on the institute website. If you are claiming something that faculty, we are not saying that how many faculty should participate. It can be a group of faculty. Ideally expected is the program will have 2-3 faculty members working on behalf of all in the program to work on this aspect. The work must be made available on the institute website. Second is the work must be available for peer review and critique. The work must be reproducible and developed further by others. It's a continuous improvement on that. If a set of faculty member has come out with some ideas, and if the program feels that those ideas are worth looking at, then their implementation and further working on those things. Accordingly, marks have been given here. Statement of clear goals, use of appropriate methods. But what is important is written in the black. The department institution may set up appropriate processes for making the contribution available to the public, getting them reviewed, and for rewarding. If the good ideas have come, there should be a mechanism to appreciate so that people feel motivated to come out with more and more ideas in this. Then the faculty as participants in faculty development training programs and short-term training program under two categories. Faculty with 5 points. Each faculty can have based on the number of days of training, 2 to 5 days and greater than 5 days. This we have made it realistic. Earlier it was 1 week and 2 weeks. Now it is 2 days, 2 to 5 days and greater than 5 days. But what is more significant change in this is the written in red in the table is 0.5 RF. What it indicates, RF is the required number of faculty members. That it is expected that program should send 50% of their faculty members for training out of 2 to 5 days or greater than 5 days in each year of assessment to get marks here, not the 100% of the faculty members. So you have full number of faculty comes from the first faculty student ratio. Whatever number program has got, 50% of faculty should undergo some kind of training in each year of assessment. So they can schedule and plan accordingly faculty development programs. Then the research and development, as I said that research and development in the new SAR is not faculty assessment, it is the program assessment. So you will see the points here, academic research. Now the academic research earlier, if we look at previously, if somebody has become PhD guide, somebody has started guidance of PhD, no weightage was given because during the period of assessment PhD will not be over. Now all these have been counted as a part of academic research. Academic research including research paper publications, PhD guidance and faculty receiving PhD during the assessment period has been given weightage as shown here, 6 and 4 point. Now there will be sponsored research. As I said that sponsored research is not at faculty level, sponsored research is at the program level. So it has been mentioned very clear that provide a list with project title, funding agency, amount and duration. Funding from outside cumulative during the assessment year. So it is the accumulation of the amount received which vary in the multiples of 4 from 4 lakhs to 20 lakhs. That it is expected that a program should have these values are for tier 2 institution. Next slide you will see the values for the tier 1 institution is from 4 lakh to 20 lakhs in a multiple of 4 lakhs. If a program is able to get sponsored research from outside agency, then whether one faculty gets a project or whether 20 faculty or 10 faculty gets a project is irrelevant here. It is the amount and the proportional marks under the sponsored research category. These are the marks for tier 1 sponsored research. So that 4 to 20 now has become 15 to 50. So the only thing, because tier 1 institutions are expected to get a better quality and high end sponsored research, so amount which was restricted at 20 lakhs has now gone to 50 lakhs in case of tier 1. Similarly, but the consultancy amount has not been changed. If you look at the development activities, product development, research laboratories, instructional material, working models and charts. Consultancy, the amount in the multiple of 2 lakhs, again at the program level. Consultancy is very clear that it should be from the industry, and the amount should be cumulative in the multiples of 2 lakhs, from 2 lakhs to 10 lakhs. Same amount will remain as it is in case of tier 1 institutions. This is like, so the only difference is sponsored research amount has been raised, because it is expected they will get a project from the funding agencies much higher as compared to tier 2 institutions. The rest of the components remains as it is irrespective of tier 1 and tier 2. Faculty Performance and Appraisal System and Development System, FPADS, an effective performance appraisal system for faculty. Now what is expected from the program here is a well-defined system should be available for faculty appraisal for all the assessment year. Now if they are able to demonstrate that there is a system available, then program gets 10 marks. Its implementation and effectiveness gets 20 marks. So you may have a good proposal, but then how this has been implemented, how effectively those implementation has been analyzed, based on the analysis, how effectively faculty members have been put into training and continuous improvement side, will seen as a part of, this is only not for the increment, this is also for the development of the faculty members in discipline and overall faculty development. How this has been seen is something. Visiting faculty, adjunct faculty and emeritus faculty has been added to motivate institutions or program to have these faculty members under this category. How this has been done, that it is expected that preferably from the industry, program will invite professionals under these categories. So if they make a provision, if there is a provision at program level, program gets 1 point. But what is important after this is the 50 hours of interaction for each year of assessment. So 50 hours of interaction with adjunct faculty for each year of assessment will get 3 marks. Now here it has not been said that 50 hours how many visiting professors should come. If one professor can come for 50 hours, if 50 professors can come for 50 hours. So it is up to the program that if they are able to demonstrate that somebody from the industry preferably came as a visiting adjunct professor in the department, in the program, then they get 3 marks for each year of assessment, and 3 years of assessment gives the 9 marks, and 1 mark for have this a policy where program can invite brings the 10 marks. As I said, that less weightage in terms of looking at the what we should look at in the facilities and technical support. So all those classrooms, power backups, generators, medical rooms, all storerooms have been removed from the facilities. Added points are relevant to the teaching learning. So adequate and well equipped laboratories and technical manpower. If you will see this table in the SAR, the table talks about technical manpower lab wise. So like AICT today prescribes the 10 laboratories for each of the program, and the 2 laboratories separately for the PG program, with an option of that program can share 1 lab with UG and PG. So if a program is running, an undergraduate program is running PG program, then and sharing 1 lab, then they should have 11 laboratories, and then they should be able to showcase the equipment in those laboratories and with an educated and qualified manpower. So additional facilities created for improving the quality. Now this has been added. Why this has been added? That there is a university prescribed curriculum or the curriculum created by the tier 1 institution to have outcome attainment. But whether program is looking at creating something beyond, not only confining or complying to the minimum requirement, but they are thinking something beyond. So this can be done in 2 categories. Either you create a separate laboratory, or you create some extra experimental setup, or bring some of the sophisticated equipments as a part of laboratory at undergraduate or postgraduate level, and show how this has and give this access to all the set of students, how this has improved the learning experience of the students. Laboratories maintenance and overall ambience. Project, it is expected that an undergraduate department should have a project laboratory independently, where students are allowed to come and work on their projects in order to avoid having concept of getting projects developed outside. So this is a way to create a lot of real project creation and implementation at the program level. Safety measures in all the laboratories wherever it is applicable is also seen, and if you look at 10 marks are given for safety measures for the laboratories. This is now the continuous improvement. Action taken based on the result of evaluation of each of the POs and PSOs. Now this point is, if you look at the SAR, we have detailed it explicitly with 3 examples. Now we saw the program outcome attainment and program specific outcome attainment. If on the basis of program outcome attainment and program specific outcome attainment, whatever gaps you observed, how those gaps were covered in each year of assessment. For example, if you look at when the project, as we were seeing when we look at the quality of project, that project should give emphasis to environment, cost, safety, ethics. If current assessment year -2, which is the base year of assessment, if the program has realized that these 4 factors already a part of outcome attainment were not considered while allocating and assessing the projects, if they are able to write and identify that and circulate to all the faculty members that although we completed our projects in the base year, but however these 4-5 parameters were not considered as a part of assessment, now current year assessment year -1, all these parameters should be counted for assessment, and actually they show us the counted, then this becomes a part of continuous improvement in this cycle. Then it is expected that a program should have a continual quality improvement. Under that, an academic audit. This academic audit should work in a closed loop. How this closed loop is work is, assessment shall be based on conduct and action taken in relation to continuous improvement. For example, how the marks will be given on this is that what are the assessment parameters, what are the audit parameters, who conducts the audit. Now somebody who conducts the audit, how that report gets documented, how that report goes back to the program which was audited by a committee. Based on the observation of the committee, how the further course of action for the complete year is prepared. When the next year audit is conducted, how they look at from the compliance to the previous audit done. So how overall it is resulting in improving the quality by their own mechanism of having a quality assurance through academic audit is they need to demonstrate at program level, and evaluators is expected to see when they go for the visit. Improvement in placement, higher studies and entrepreneurship. As I said in my in the differentiator slide, that improvement points have become subjective because numbers will rarely give the quality improvement. For example, placement 10 has become 15 is on the number game, but the quality of placement. So if you look at these numbers, how the marks will come in terms of improvement in placement. Now placement numbers improvement can be more number of placement in the core companies. The placement, quality placement into the core companies have started coming in is one indicator. Number of students taken by core companies, if they are going up, is also indicator of quality improvement in the placement. Pay packages. So anything which connects to the placement and the quality improvement there can be seen as a continuous improvement. Higher studies, performance and examination. Number of students going to premier institutions after clearing GATE, if it is increasing, there is an increase in the percentage in the higher studies quality in terms of quality of the program being delivered by the respective program. Entrepreneurship again. Then this is the 7.4. As I said, 2 student intake has been sought. One we have seen as a part of enrollment ratio in terms of number of students admitted in the program in 3 years. This talks about the quality of students. So a program needs to demonstrate based on the admission mechanism. If the admission is through, for example, JEE main score, admission is through state government score, admission is a combination of 12th, JEE and state, whatever admission mechanism a program as per the state government guidelines is having, program needs to identify that data, analyze that data and indicate to the evaluators and to themselves that each year they are able to get a better quality students as a part of continuous improvement from the intake perspective. Now from 8th point onwards, now the institution level assessment, which is weighted 22%, 220 marks on 1000 point scale. The idea of having complete demarcation between 2 sets, program set and institution set, is that it is proposed that now onwards, earlier what was happening, that even all the experts were visiting the central facilities, gym, auditorium, playground. So idea is that chairman, and there will be expected to be a one expert from the first year study, physics, chemistry, and so on. So he will accompany the chairman and do the assessment for the first year through these 8, 9, 10, and the evaluators will devote most of the time in the program. So accordingly, if you see the new visit schedule of the NBA, you will see that difference, that experts are now devote close to 85-84% time in the program. Earlier what was happening, that 69% of the time committee was I will say investing or utilizing in seeing presentation, meeting stakeholders. So only 30% time collectively to look at all the documents, facilities, and so on. So it was very difficult to look at. So qualification, first year teacher student ratio, the weightages are less, but the calculation will be as we have seen in the program level assessment. Qualification of faculty teaching first year. So now it is 5x plus 3.5, again the postgraduate qualification and doctorate qualification. As we discussed that during the program, we have seen the academic performance of second year and third year. This is a first year assessment or institution assessment. So this is a first year academic performance. Successful students are those who are permitted to proceed to the second year. Methodology remains same. The only thing is, instead of program level, because first year is common across the program, so first year assessment is done here. Attainment of course outcome of first year courses. It has been explicitly mentioned that the course outcomes, courses which are relevant to the outcomes from the first year will be indicated here. So they have to indicate how the course outcome attainment, because earlier this portion was missed. And if you look at the attainment of the program outcomes, first year constitute in the literal sense 25% of the study of an undergraduate student, and if we do not look at this 25%, then the attainment is declared based on the 75%. However, first criteria in particular, and some of the criterias, typically the engineers attribute criterias, also has a lot of input from the first year studies in terms of humanities, social science, English, communication skills. So all those courses program at first year level, not program, institution at first year level needs to demonstrate the course outcome attainment. So again the same questions which we saw in the program level. Describe the assessment processes used to gather the data upon which the evaluation of course outcome of first year is done. Record the attainment of course outcome of all first year courses. Attainment of program outcomes of all first year courses. Indicate result of evaluation of each relevant PO. All POs may not be relevant to the first year courses. That's why relevant word is used here, and program specific outcomes. And as we saw, action taken based on the results of evaluation of relevant POs in the program section. Methodology will remain same. Only thing is the people implementing this and the content will change from the first year subject perspective. Criteria 9 is student support system. The first component is mentoring system to help at individual level. The important thing here is, as we prepare, because as I said that it's not only to showing to NBA, it is to effect improvement as we prepare for NBA. Is type of mentoring available? Once you have type of mentoring, then how this mentoring actually gets implemented. You visit across the country, you will find mentoring system in all the institutions. But if you look at the effectiveness of those implementation, there's a big question mark there. So how many faculty members are involved? How many students are given to a mentor? Frequency of meeting, whether it's a planned activity, non-planned activity. So the moment you interact with the students independently and faculty independently, and if you look at the data, some of the widgets, if you see the record, you see the same pen has been used. It appears that they have created those documents just for the NBA visit. Important thing all along we need to look at is that NBA is an assurance of minimum quality, and if you really want to improve, then the improvement needs to come within. Then only a real improvement in the system will take place. Otherwise, getting 600 marks on 1000-point scale always indicates that you are accredited, but you have a deficiency or areas of improvement proportional to 400 marks. So we also need to keep that in mind. Feedback analysis and reward corrective measures taken. Feedback on two important criteria: teaching, learning, and industry connect from the because this is a program level assessment. So program level, two important feedbacks already taken for the teaching, learning, and for the student connect. This is a general feedback to understand that whether institution is looking at how seriously implementation of feedback from at institutional level, which typically will include first year students also from the same discipline. Feedback collected for all courses. How is the feedback questionnaire designed, whether they upgrade it or many years they continued with the same. Specify the feedback collection process. average percentage of students who participated, because this is also important that how many numbers of students participate. Important thing is, do they have a qualifier when they analyze the feedback? Two important things which we looked at in particular, looking at something, that student not attended even 50% of the classes, their feedback is also counted for teacher assessment. This is one example, which so they need to have a qualifier in terms of the minimum attendance to be counted, because it's a for faculty it's a big input in terms of indicative input, not the absolute input. The second is whether they take action based on the feedback. In one case, student for all the year of assessment gave zero feedback to a faculty member, but faculty member continued to teach that same subject. So when the committee interacted, they raised this point, and when the committee went back and looked at their feedback records, they realized that the actually 0% feedback was given to that. So how this feedback is in terms of impact and correction is viewed by the institution and the program at both the cases the committee looks at. Then the feedback on facilities, general facilities feedback collection in the all facilities put together where the students have access. So how the feedback is collected, how it is analyzed and collective action taken. Self-learning facilities in terms of availability of facilities for the ICT driven webinars, podcast, massive open online courseware, evaluate how the effectiveness is evaluated, scope for self-learning and its effective utilization. Career guidance, training and placement, these three things, how these are looked at, whether there is a provision to have these things in the institution. If the provision is there, how these facilities are managed. If they are managed, how effective are these facilities. There are three sets. These will be seen by the evaluators and the program when they prefer for accreditation. Entrepreneurship cell is expected that program should have an entrepreneurship cell, and if it is there, then how that facility is managed, and if it is managed, are they able to actually create some kind of success stories during the period of assessment. This is to basically make them aware that these are also an important input which is needed from the institution to the student community to look at this also as an option as they move to set their careers. Co-curricular and extracurricular is clear in terms of what is expected from a program and assessment perspective. Criteria 10 is governance, institutional support and financial resources. As I said, that vision and mission of the institute and the department should be in sync. Their statement, department vision and mission, when we looked at institute vision and mission statement only from the consistency perspective. So institute vision and mission statement was not assessed. There the department vision and mission statement was assessed. Here the institution vision and mission statement on the lines of how it was assessed at the department level will be assessed in terms of availability of those statements and in terms of appropriateness of those statements. But if you look at the lower 4-5 points in terms of availability, the effort has been made to bridge the gap between the evaluators and the institutions. Because what was happening based on the feedback, if an institution is having vision and mission at library, people will say why it is not there in the canteen. If they have at the canteen, they'll say why it is not in the gym. Somewhere they said that why it is not at the entry only. So there are a lot of, because experts are experts, they make their own judgment. So in order to bridge that gap, it has been explicitly mentioned that these are the places where this should be publicized, demonstrated, and written. Availability of a statement on institute website is first expectation from the institute. All central facilities like library, computer center, principal chamber, they should display the institute vision and mission statement. One set of statement, because department vision and mission is in sync with the institute vision and mission, it is expected that one set of statement of institute vision and mission should be displayed in public domain in each of the departments being run by the institute. And any document which institute publishes at institute level should have vision and mission statement for the benefit of all those reading that document. Second is governing body, administrative setup, functioning of various bodies, service rules, procedure, recruitment, promotional policies. See, we also need to understand one thing, these marks should only be seen as an indicative marks. Because somebody asked this question that, for example, if you don't have any faculty, you give 0 mark in that. So still I have 800 marks, and if I score 600 out of 800, will my program be accredited? But then all parameters are interconnected. So we have to look at marks, because weightages have to be given, that's why marks are given. But then the Difference is that collectively when the experts look at, they look at the holistic view in terms of efforts made by the program to continuously make quality improvement. We will see when we will see tier 1 accreditation that how these marks are now converted to grades, because tier 1 institutions, tier 1 programs are part of Washington Accord equivalence program. So the grade YCWD has been given. We will see those in details. So list the governing body composition. Governing body is defined by the AICTE. As per AICTE governing body composition, program can have maximum 11 to 21 members. So whether they are able to follow those guidelines. In case of other set of institutions, ministry and the UGC have the GB composition defined. Service rules, policies for the employees. Important thing is having those service rules is one aspect. Making all those for these service rules are made, making them aware these service rules. And third is the correct implementation of the written service rules is the third part of this. So all this will be seen in totality. Minutes of the meeting, action taken reports, extent of awareness for each of the things will be seen when the committee interacts with the employees and the student category. Decentralization in working and grievance redressal mechanism. This is in terms of how the program and institution actually makes faculty members responsible for some of the activities, and how those delegated powers are actually given to the faculty members. If you look at the evaluation guideline, it has been explicitly told that under this decentralization, they should look at one sample for each year of assessment in terms of effective implementation, so that it is not on the paper but is in the effective implementation also. Grievance and redressal mechanism and how effectively they have taken actions. So if you look at 1 and 2 out of 10 point scale, 7 marks are given based on the some kind of issues and the action taken based on that. Delegation of financial powers. If you look at the papers, particularly in the self-financing sector, you find a lot of delegation of financial power given, but in reality, when you look at file, goes back to the highest authority. So for each year of assessment, for many financial points, which we will see in the 10.3, the program needs to demonstrate the implementation in terms of file movement, and especially the closure of files based on the delegation of powers given to the principal, head of the departments, and the in charges. Demonstrate the utilization of financial powers for each year of assessment. So if you look at out of 10, if you have on paper, you only get 3 marks, and if you have if you are not able to demonstrate, then you will not get 7. You may not get any marks because it's only on the paper. Nothing moves beyond that. Transparency and availability of information. Then these are the policies in terms of public domain, whether stakeholders are aware or not. Tier 1 point is added apart from these point is because tier 1 is a complete autonomy. So it is expected that there will be an institutional strategic growth plan. Growth plan will typically talk about how they want to grow in next 5 to 10 years time, with short-term goals, long-term goals, with some kind of benchmarking, identification of manageable and non-manageable constraints. Within those defined constraints, how they want to grow over a period of time, and if they have got a strategic plan, how effectively they are able to implement that plan in the institute, and how do they monitor the implementation of a strategic plan is something which is expected from the tier 1 institution. Budget allocation and utilization is looked at 2 points. Budget allocation, utilization at this point is at institute level. Next point we will see at program level. So if you look at next, so this is the table which as a differentiator, the expenditure per student is looked into. If you look at this table, total income which comes through fees, some kind of government support, grants in the form of projects, and any other source in terms of donation or any other source, they need to specify here. Actual expenditure is bifurcated in some components, recurring including salary, non-recurring, then some of the projects if the program institution is funding. And if you look at the rightmost column, the total number of students as calculated for teacher-student ratio as n will come there, and the lower row in the same column will come as expenditure per student. So total expenditure which comes from the previous column will be divided by the total number of students. So there is a fee which comes as in the first column. So you know that how much fee institution is collecting from a student, and what percentage of this fee actually goes back to the expenditure in the for the development of the institute. These are some of the subcomponents of the expenditure: infrastructure, library, laboratory, teaching and the salary, maintenance, R&D, training, travel support. if you look at, there is a component of miscellaneous expenses. Now we have been explicitly made clear with the asterisk that generally if you see the sheets filled by many institutes, you find significant expenditure under miscellaneous, because miscellaneous interpretation is their own interpretation. So it has been made clear that whatever component has been shown here, they need to put all those components in the attached sheet and give the detailed description of those components there, to understand that this expenditure typically is on the academic side, not on the other side. And this information is to be given for all the financial years. Here this is a finance, we are looking at financial year, 3 financial years. But then if the program, if somebody is submitting proposal in between of a current financial year, so that information also needs to be submitted. Other questions at the institute level is adequacy of budget allocation, but how they say that this is adequate. So they need to look at their requirement, and then they say that it is adequate, and if it is adequate, they need to justify why it is adequate. Utilization of allocated funds, and availability of audit statements on institute website. So this covers the budget part at institute level. Similarly for the program level, they may be doing good at institute level, but since it is a program level accreditation, so this information in the same format as it came for the institution will come for the program. Now you may ask that since this criteria is for institute level, how it is the program level, how it has come at the institute level, because this was not able to bifurcate. So what in the evaluation guideline and the SAR we have written that while awarding marks to this criteria, chairman will consult the program evaluators and then accordingly make a judgment on this. So adequacy of budget allocation, and typically they will also look at the budget formulation process is bottom up or top down. So typically they will also look at the process, whether all faculty members, lab in charges gives the requirement, how that requirement gets consolidated at the HOD level, how the HOD level requirement goes to the principal, how principal actually then looks at what is expected, and the correct working perspective. The annual budget and faculty approval is approved by the governing board or the council of management or board of management. So whether principal places these things in the governing board approves those things. Now they may have asked for budget of 1 crore, but the sanction budget is only 80 lakhs. How then this reduction in amount gets distributed back to the department, how the department in turn redistributes to the laboratories and the faculty members. All those things in a closed loop mode is expected to be written by the programs and expected institution and the program, and to be seen by the evaluators. Utilization of allocated funds. Library and internet, if you look at earlier till now, what is happening, number of books, number of journals and so on, all those have been removed, because AICT zero deficiency report gives an idea about the numbers, number of books, area, sitting area, library area, journals. So all those, if a program needs to demonstrate, is that they have a AICT zero deficiency report for all the assessment year. What is expected to looked at by the committee and the in the SAR self-assessment report is how in terms of quality, how effective the books are, how effective the journals and e-journals are, if they are available, how effectively they are available, how effectively they are used, and the documents and to support that they are being used. Quality of learning resources in hard and soft form, relevance of available learning resources including e-resources, accessibility to students, internet in terms of service provider, bandwidth, uptime, downtime, Wi-Fi availability, and internet access to level. This is not the marks wise, but an indicative the support provided by the institution to the resources, faculty and student put together. Now, how the accreditation is given. Now, as I said that recently the NB has changed the guideline from 2 to 5 to 3 to 6. So now the accreditation will be for 3 years and 6 years, not for 2 to 5 years. But that notification is in a process, and once the NBA chairman, member secretary officially makes public, already it is being implemented, but then official notification in terms of that. So, but the criteria will remain same, period will change. So how this is done is, idea of NBA is looking at some point of time, the practice followed worldwide is that nowhere it is mathematical or number based assessment. because quality is that comes at a qualitative assessment, not the quantitative assessment. So grades are directly given by the experts, whether you look at Abbott, but then their experts and the manner in which they do, the manner in which institutions apply to the accrediting agency is an entirely different set of culture. In case of our culture still, but we have to look at considering Washington Accord these grades. But what has been done to assist the evaluators is marks and the grades, there is a relation shown. So there is a lookup table. If a criteria gets 75% and above marks, then the criteria gets Y grade. Y stands for compliance and C stands for concern. 60 to 70. How this is differentiated is that, for example, you see that the budget allocation for 3 assessment year is good, but if you see that budget allocation in terms of amount is going down every year, although it is educated and good, but amount is going down. So there may be a concern that the manner in which it is going down, some point of time it will become deficient, it will become inadequate. So the concern, if a program scores 60 to 75, then this is a concern. If the program scores 40 to 60%, then there is a weakness, and if a program scores less than 40%, then it is a deficient. In real sense, the number should not be there. Like, for example, if you look, the example of this is, if you look at our car, if engine is not working, then whether it's a directly deficiency. If all the 4 tires there is an issue there, then there is a deficiency. If there is a 1 tire issue, so we have to look at the how the part which is not fully functional, how it is affecting the functionality of that thing. It should be in the category of compliance, concern, weakness and deficiency. However, in the present form, to assess the evaluators, this has been linked with the marks as per the marks distribution we have seen till now, to give the equivalent grade. Now, having given the grade, who will get the accreditation for 5 years if there is no deficiency in the program? All 10 criteria, no criteria is deficient, and the concern is not more than 3 criteria. That means out of 7 criteria, 7 should be with compliance. 7 Ys, up to at the most 3 concern. You can have all 10 Ys, but then 3 concerns are permitted and no deficiency in the program. Then the program is accredited for 5 years with second writer. We have said that 20% of the faculty should be with PhD qualification in case of tier 1. But in order to get 5 years accreditation, 30% faculty should be with PhD qualification. In the pre-visit qualifier, it was 20%. But if you want to get 5 years accreditation, which in today's time 6 years accreditation, then the not 20% makes you eligible to apply, but 30% will make you eligible to have the 5 years accreditation. And enrollment, there we have said that 60% is the minimum eligibility to admissions. Here you should have 75% students admissions in order to become for 5 years. So 5 years, when we look at minimum 7 Ys, then no deficiency, 75% admissions, 30% PhDs, then some program gets 5 years accreditation. A clause has been created. For example, there are minor weaknesses kind of thing, where they are also not clear whether it's a concern or weaknesses. At the most 3, then the committee feels that these weaknesses can be overcome by the program in 3 months time. Then they can also be considered for 3 months time to submit a compliance. Based on the compliance, they can be given 5 years accreditation. 2 years accreditation, if the program under consideration has deficiencies not more than 2 criteria, that means 2 deficiencies permitted, has full compliance in 4 criteria. Matlab Y should be minimum 4, deficiency should not be more than 2, and that program should have 2 professors or 1 professor and 1 associate professor, and faculty should not be deficient. That means faculty criteria should have got more than 40% marks. Then the program will be considered for accreditation for 2 years. No accreditation if the program has not more than 5, not less than 4 compliance report, deficiency more than 2, or the faculty criteria is deficient, then program will not be accredited. In case of tier 2, since it is a number game, minimum 750 points, our 600 becomes eligible for 2 years accreditation on 1000 point scale, 750 becomes eligible for 5 years accreditation. So minimum of 750 points in aggregate out on 1000 point scale, with minimum score of 60% in 4 to 6. If you look at 4 to 6, it talks about students, faculty, facilities put together. So at least 30% of the faculty should be PhD. So this is to get 5 years accreditation. in order to get 2 years accreditation, 600 point on 1000 point scale with faculty not deficient. That's why there is written minimum 40% marks in the faculty criteria. At least one professor or one associate professor. In case of tier 1 it is and, here it is or. No accreditation means program scoring less than 600 marks, or the faculty criteria is deficient, or both are complied but there is no professor or associate professor in the department. So this will not get accreditation. Now these are my last 2 slides, which I thought I looked at many, I otherwise also look at many documents on Google to look at how the 21st century education is going on. And though for the benefit of all, National Academy of Engineering has already placed attributes of 21st century engineer on their website when they look at the global challenges. And I read 2 quotes which I think is very relevant to our system also, because ultimately if really outcome based education needs to be implemented, then faculty members need to lead by an example in order to motivate and mentor faculty student community to take the benefit of outcome based education. Understanding 21st century learners thought process and appropriately mentoring the learners. The 2 examples are, I asked them to solve the math equation and they are the learners of 21st century. Write what they have done so far in last 3 days, they try to Google, looking at hundreds of papers to see if they can find the solution to that. They could have spent the time and solved it, and they could have solved it. Instead, they spent those 3 days trying to find the solution. They don't want to solve the problem, they want to see solved problems. This is something, this is an attitude of young 21st century learner which we see. This is something as a faculty member we need to make students aware. Next is also relevant. A lot of people say that teacher's job is to, see, unfortunately in this country what has happened is, if a student fails or set of students fail, we generally make faculty accountable for that. We never look at the interest of that. This is something I thought is very relevant in today's context, with due respect to all. A lot of people say that teacher's job is to facilitate, and facilitating is quite different from teaching. Students tend to look at teaching as just one-way traffic. So there should be the understanding from the students that yes, they come to class to participate, not to entertain. It is different than seeing a movie where you go to theater, you enjoy and not participate. Then when you leave the movie, you just summarize the plot in one sentence, that what you felt about the movie. But learning is different than summarizing. It is a process of changing behavior. With this, thanks to one and all for patient hearing.